Well, hello there. It's me again, Annie Kamai from AKamaiChats. I am going to share with you today. I was thinking about what I want to talk about. I mean, I have my list of 30 topics that I want to do during my 30-day challenge, but I was feeling kind of like low energy today, and I was like, not feeling it. So I thought, I think the universe wants me to share my story. So I have a long and illustrious stories, very full of adventure and whatever, but I feel it's relevant, and I hope you can garner something from it because I think you can maybe relate, um, or maybe get some inspiration for what you want to do with your business, if you want to get started or whatever. Okay. So once upon a time, oh, by the way, I have a microphone. I had my microphone before, it was over there. But I had some feedback from people, i.e., my sister, and she said sometimes it's kind of soft or whatever. So I figured I'd just put it in the front. And I watched like Sean Cannell on Think Media on YouTube and a lot of podcasters, and they have their microphone right in the front. So I'm hoping that this will produce a better sound for you. So anyway, once upon a time when I was young, okay, so I've been married twice. Okay, so my first husband, we got married when I was 23 years old, and I had my son when I was 25. Yeah, 23 and then 25. And we were married for 11 years total, but we split up when we were 10 years, at 10 years. And I saw it coming, and I didn't want to be in that relationship anymore because, sorry if you're watching this, he was kind of abusive. Not physically, because I could probably kick his ass, but mentally, he was just he was a terror. And so there's that. And so I saw it coming, and I thought, this is leading somewhere because it's going to tell you about how I started my first business, and then all of the businesses that I have had throughout my life up until now. And I've had a few of them, and they were all wildly successful. So that's why I wanted to share with you. Some of them, didn't pan out, but they were all just very successful because, um, you know, you either live or you learn, right? Is that how it goes? Oh, we say it Bombay, you learn, right? So you got to learn. And if you don't, that's bad on you. So anyways, when I saw our divorce coming, and I was thinking, okay, I got to leave this guy before my kids get to be old enough where they repeat his patterns. And my son was 7, my daughter was 3, 4, 7 and 4. And, as an older boy, even my little girl, you look up to your dad, and the boys will repeat that with their partners, and the girls will look for that in their partners. And I didn't want that for them. So while I was, thinking about, okay, I got to leave, and what am I going to do? I'm going to be a single mom. And at the time I was working for my brother in his pawn shop, and it was fun. And, it was great. We never bought anything retail because we always got it for the pawn shop. And, so I was thinking, okay, what am I going to do? I was working at the pawn shop, but I had the 2 kids, and then I wasn't going to have that second income to help pay for daycare or whatever. My son was in a private school in our church. So I had a lot of planning to do, and I had, it's not like I schemed and connived to do it, but you have to look forward. You have to look towards the future and think about how you're going to take care of yourself and how you're going to take care of your kids. So I love to sew. I've been sewing since I was in the 7th grade. And I was kind of a chunky kid. And when I went to sewing class, I was like super stoked because I learned how to sew, and I could make all of the dresses and things that the other girls were wearing. I could make my own because they didn't have, back there, they didn't have, um, like big sizes for kids. They had just, like up to size 10 or 12 or whatever for kids. And they never had anything cute. I just had to get all the ugly leftover stuff. So I was really excited about making my own clothes. So, there's you insert passion right there. I had a really strong desire to look like the other kids. And at the time, well, when I was that age, at the time, my parents had just gotten divorced, and financially, it was devastating. We couldn't afford much. My mom did her best. She'd never had to work out of the home before, so she had to go get a job. And then I was 11, 12 at that time, and I had to take care of my siblings. Yeah, I guess I should go back to my kidhood, because that also shaped me. So my parents got divorced, and I was the oldest, so the oldest has to look over the little ones, right? Because after school we would all walk home from school together, make sure everybody's together. We got home and we were like this is in the 70s. And we were latchkey kids in the 70s. I mean, I talked about in my other video how Gen X are like badasses, because we were the first latchkey kids. We had to figure out how to feed ourselves because our parents, our moms, were working now, and we were, at home to fend for ourselves. And so you had to get really creative. I had a cookbook. My mom had a cookbook, and I would make stuff up. I would look at the recipes and not really know what I was doing, but I did my best to feed my siblings. And so, that really had shaped me in my, my desire to take care of others. I was momming my siblings. And, today I love my siblings like they're my kids still, and I still mom them to an extent. Okay, so that was my childhood. And then, fast forward to when I was getting divorced from my husband, I had to figure out how I was going to take care of my kids. So because I learned how to sew in the 7th grade, I started making my own patterns, because they never had patterns for big girls. So I had to get newspaper, trace the patterns, and make my own patterns in a bigger size. And so I got very inventive and very creative in, I would swap out sleeves from one pattern to another. And, I'd put pockets where they weren't supposed to be pockets, and buttons and whatever. You know what I'm saying? Whoops. Portuguese talks through their hands. And so I was really creative with the sewing, and I made my kids' clothes every Christmas. We all had matching outfits. You guys remember that? I know my kids are watching. I would make myself and my daughter a dress from the same fabric, and then make a aloha shirt for my son. We'd all be matching. It was so cute, taking Christmas pictures every year, because I knew how to sew, and I was, creative. I made scrunchies for her, and I made all their clothes. So I figure I could make stuff, and I could sell it. So the first thing I did was I went down to the hobby store. It was Ben Franklin, was a craft store. I went down there and I bought a blank tote bag. It was just a canvas tote bag. And I went down to the fabric store and I bought some Hawaiian print fabric, and I made a band that went around the bag. And I got some iron-on fusible web, and I would iron on the fabric, and then I used the zigzag stitch, the buttonholing stitch, and I finished the edge of it. And that was my Hawaiian print tote bag. So I took those, and that was I was just my budding business, right? I had those. And then I also had kids t-shirts. I got t-shirts. And do you remember that puff paint? Okay, so I used to make an iron, take fabric and cut out a pattern with it, put that fusible web on the back, and I'd cut it out, and I'd iron it onto a girl's t-shirt, and I'd take the puff paint and I'd edge it. And then I would take the matching, the fabric that was on the shirt, I would make a matching skirt. So I'd gather it and make a skirt, sew it to the bottom of the t-shirt, and it became a dress. So I made all kinds of dresses. I made them for girls, and I made them for women. And I used to take them to the swap meet. And I did this while I was married. I was kind of building my business while I was married to my first husband. And, for extra income or whatever. And also as a side thing, I didn't really realize I was building a budding business to sustain myself when we split up. So I did that. It was like, and this is going back to testing your market. I didn't go and rent like a big store or anything. I didn't try and sell them into the stores yet. I wanted to see if there was any interest and how well they would sell. So I added on to those, like then I made matching scrunchies and I made lanyards and then I made my Hawaiian print tote bag. So I'd make the tote bag with the fabric around it. And, so I made more and more things that I could sew. I made pot holders and little kitchen towels that you could hang on your stove, because there's the bar on the stove and you put your towels on there and they always fall off. So I made a little topper for the top of the towel, gathered it all up, and the top of the towel thing had Velcro. So you could put it over the handle of the oven and it won't fall off. And those were super popular. So I sold all of these kind of things at the swap meet. I made earrings and whatever. Oh, and I also took rubber slippers and I put like around the strap. You other people call them flip-flops, but they're called rubber slippers. Okay. So the strap of this slipper, I wrapped it with ribbon and then I hot glued some little satin roses on it. So you could buy a cute dress and then you could get the slippers to match. My dog better not bark. You better not bark, Hina. So anyway, so I was selling all these kind of things, and then I made like little drawstring backpacks, and so it was a way that I could make some money, test out my stuff, and see what the market could bear. Didn't really realize what I was doing at the time, but that's what I was doing, figuring out who my target market was. So my brother had his pawn shop, and he had a side room that he wasn't really using too much. So he's like, hey, instead of going to swap me, why don't you sell your stuff inside this room? So I did that. I brought all of my stuff down because, like, mind you, to go to the swap meet every weekend, I had to pack my car. I had to pack the tent, tables, all the display stuff. You get down there early, like 6 o'clock in the morning. You got to set everything up. And oh my heavens, if it's windy or rainy, your stuff's going to get ruined, right? So thank goodness he allowed me to sell my things in his little shop. And so that was the start of my little Hawaiian print tote bag business. And I called it Ann Stevens Creations because that was my married name the first time. Ann Stevens Creations, and that's what that was. And so I wanted to expand the business, and I found a textiles I don't know if they were a manufacturer, but it was a textiles company that sold fabric by the bolt. Because at the time, prior to that, I was selling it. I mean, I was buying retail and then, making stuff out of it and then selling it marking it up and selling it at retail. So I increased my margins by finding the fabric wholesale. I'd buy 30 yards. It came in like 15 or 30 yards of fabric. I would buy it by the bolt. And then I could really mass produce all of my products. And so once I decided I need to, we split up and I was on my own. I was working at the pawn shop, but I needed the extra money because I needed now daycare for my kids after school. And so I decided, hey, I'm going to take my tote bags to this store over here because they sell like handcrafted Hawaiian stuff. So it was at the Royal Hawaiian Shopping Center, and this was like back in the maybe mid 80s. Took it down there, and I found this store. I can't remember what the name of it. They had artisan stuff and look like artifacts and all handmade stuff. And I showed it to the lady, and she was asking me some questions, and I don't remember what at the time. And she's like, "Yeah, sure. I'll try it out. I'll get 6 of these and 6 of these." So I had a black bag and I had a natural color bag. So 6 and 6. So I made them and I delivered them, and I made my own invoices. Back then we didn't have computers. How did I do that? I think I typed it up on a piece of paper, and then I made photocopies. And back in olden times, you had to go to the printer and make photocopies. So Yeah, so that was like my first account was at this little store, and then I expanded, and I was like, I looked around at her shop, whatever she had, and I got some ideas to add on some more products to my product line. So I started making the pot holders and the towel that hangs on the oven. So I made those, and I made those in bulk. And so I took them to the Complete Kitchen, is a kitchen supply store, and talked to the lady. And I just asked questions, right? I don't know nothing about outside sales, but I was determined, and I was passionate about what I did. And I was determined to, get some accounts. So, when I think the buyers, they see this young girl, and she really wants to do something, and her products are, pretty decent looking. She gave me a chance. Like, so many people gave me a chance, which I was very fortunate. But I think that, that with your passion and your tenacity and your drive to succeed, and keeping my eye on the goal, which was take care of my kids. And so the Complete Kitchen, she gave me a chance. And so she ordered, and very much to my surprise, they reordered. They'd call me like, "Hey Annie, I'm out of my Tilbex. Can you bring me 12 more?" I'm like, "Yeah." So and then the Complete Kitchen, she was ordering on a regular basis, like monthly. And then she increased her order, and she was ordering every month. Okay, I have to pause because my dog wants to go outside. Oh my God. Okay, where was I? Um, yeah, sorry, I had to let my dog out. And yeah, so they kept reordering, and it was great. And they asked me like, "Oh, do you do 30-day terms?" I'm like, "Do you do terms?" I'm like, "What is terms?" And she's like, "When you deliver your order, we have 30 days to pay the invoice." And I was like, "Sure, let's try it." And I was very fortunate because all of the people that asked for terms, I gave them 30 days. All the people that asked, I approved them. I'm like, "Yeah, sure, let's do it." I mean, I didn't have no contracts or nothing like legally to protect myself, but I never got screwed over by anybody, like no one. And except for one side note. Okay, I'll put a pin in that and come back to it. So I just kept opening up more and more and more stores. The Dole Plantation, that was my account. I had I had pot holders and the towels I had there, and everything there had to be with pineapples. So I had to go look for a pineapple print fabric. And I was fortunate that my supplier did have pineapple print fabric, and they carried it for years. So I was able to supply them for years. And then one day they discontinued the print, and they made a print that was like a bigger all over print. And that didn't work because the items are small. So you need to have a small print so you can see that they're pineapples. So at that point, I had to let go of that account because, I didn't have a pineapple print fabric, not one that was like, nice anyway. So I had opened up accounts on like several different islands. Most of mine were on Oahu. And then I opened, I think, one on the Big Island, and then several, like two or three in Maui. So I had 15 altogether. And so I'll go back to that story about, like getting screwed over. It wasn't really, I don't know, it wasn't really getting screwed over, but I lost out on a big order. So I had this account in Maui, and she was actually in Lahaina. And she ordered a couple times, and then she put in a third order. And then I waited and I waited, and I didn't get, I usually wait like 30 days before I start thinking of calling people for their payment. And I didn't hear anything. So, and in the meantime, the box came back. It was returned. And I thought, that's weird. Why did they return the box? So Ding Dong sends it again. Okay, so it was my fault. I sent it again, and I waited and I waited like a couple more weeks, and it doesn't take that long to ship to Maui. Okay, it doesn't take like 2 weeks. And so I called over there, which I should have done that to begin with. I called over there and the number was disconnected. And come to find out, they shut down their store. They went out of business. And so whoever, got the box that I shipped over, well, Merry Christmas. You got all like $80 worth of free stuff. So aside from that, I was very fortunate and never got nobody ever like shortchanged me or screwed me over. One time, okay, there was this place called the Executive Chef, and it was another kitchen place. And they would order like a huge orders. And one day I delivered the order, and about a week later, the buyer called me. She's like, "Oh, we're gonna pay you, but we have to place another order." I'm like, "Well, what happened?" She said somebody stole the whole box. They were unpacking it and, merchandising it, pricing it and whatever. Somebody just grabbed the whole bag and just took it. I felt so horrible, but I was a small little business. I wasn't able to replace anything, for free. I think I did give her a discount because I felt bad, but aside from those two things, I had such good luck and great experiences with my customers. So that was my first real big business venture, was that, wholesaling. And all I did was go and talk to people. I just thought, hey, my stuff would look good in this store. Hey, this store has things that are similar to mine. And so that's how I figured out who to go call on, because I was not, like I said, not in outside sales. I was just a girl that needed to make some money and sell her stuff. So, when you're like determined, right? My why was my kids. I had to take care of my kids because when I was, like in the process of going through the divorce, my ex-husband told me, he said, I'm going to screw you over, and, I'm not going to pay child support and stuff like that. And every chance he got, he stopped paying child support, and he would quit his job and not work for like 6 months. So I couldn't depend on it. Eventually he would start up again, and he would like pay his arrears in $100 a month. Oh, come on, really? Seriously? He was an electrician and he made good money. So, yeah, so there's that. But because it wasn't consistent, in my mind, is all me, like 100% me. So I had to make sure that whatever I made covered what my kids needed. And, I was fortunate to have my family. I lived with my mom for when we first split up. And then I lived with my brother, for a while there. He and I both got divorced at the same time. So, and he had a daughter. He would get his daughter on the weekends. So, the kids would all be together, and they're like sister cousins, right? So, anyway, so that was my story about, being very tenacious and keeping your eye on the goal. And when you're like focused and passionate about, and you have like a really big goal that you need to, a really big number you need to hit every month, you do whatever you got to do to make the money that you need to make, because you cannot depend on anybody but yourself. Let's say you have a job, you cannot depend on your job because you can lose your job at any time. So you, honey, are the only one that's going to take care of you, unless you have a partner that is passionate about taking care of you. Understand? Okay, so that was my story about my Hawaiian print tote bag, Ann Stevens Creations company. So from there, I went and we were divorced, and then I got, like 3 years later, I got remarried again, and I got a job working in radio. So I learned about outside sales, and I had already some skills that I could take with me into that job, right? Like the ability to talk to people, and kind of figure out a good fit, what would be a good fit for my product, my radio station. And we had so much fun. It was so much fun. It was my most favorite job in the world, and I stayed there. I was hired. Well, I started in 1997 actually, and then till I left for a little while, and then I came back, and I finally left for sure in 2010. So I was there for quite a while in the industry, and during that time, while I was working in radio, it was fun, but it was a very stressful job, right? Because you have a lot of pressure to meet your goals, to meet your budgets and everything. And you have clients and deadlines, and there's a lot of balls to juggle. And, have to say I was kind of good at it, but it was very stressful at the same time. And so I don't know if this contributed to it or what contributed to it, but I got breast cancer in 2004. And I was still working at the radio station, and I was working for some really, really good people. And the management was like, we'll work with you, we'll support you through this, you can do this. And so what I did was I went to work. When I started I had a mastectomy, and then I had to have a port installed, and if you know what a port is, but it's like a, a like a thing that they install into your chest so that you can get your chemotherapy treatments, because my veins on my hand are really small, and if I put chemo in my hand, it would destroy the veins. So I had a port installed, and then so I had a lot of trauma to my body. And I didn't even mention to you all the surgeries I had on my hips, but that's a story for another day. Grab a cup of coffee, honey, because it's taking a while. So so then they installed a port, and then I had started my chemo. And then what I would do is, my chemo treatment plan was 8 months long. I would go once a month and to get my treatment, and it was for 8 months. And so what I did was, when I scheduled my chemo for a Thursday afternoon, so I could work during the morning, and then Thursday afternoon I'll go get my treatment, and then I would go home and I would sleep all day Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then the next week when I came back to work, I was working half days. And by lunchtime, my coworkers like, Annie, go home. You're going to be tired pretty soon. So sure enough, lunchtime, I'm dragging, especially the first couple of weeks after chemo. It just takes a lot out of you. And then, by the third week, you're feeling good. The fourth week, you're feeling like normal again. And then you got to get a treatment again. So throughout that time, that was my routine, my schedule for when I was getting my chemotherapy treatments. And I still had this, I didn't expect my second husband. He's my ex now, so I get confused with all the exes. But so my husband at the time, his employment was not steady. I'll just put it diplomatically. Yes, it was not steady. So, and I did not expect him to support my kids. They're my children. He treated him like they're his own, kids to an extent. But I didn't expect him to have to, shoulder that burden alone. I mean, sorry if you're watching this, but other men would have taken on the task because their wife's going through chemotherapy. But I digress. So anyways, so because I still had to take care of my kids, I was working almost at the same pace as I did before I had cancer. And lo and behold, that year I was salesperson of the year for my radio station. And I wasn't even thinking about that. I was just going forward, I'm always like this. So I keep my eye on the ball, and do what you got to do to take care of your family. I'm very passionate about that. And, I fight tooth and nail for my family, and I'm a mama bear. And, so whoever gets in the way of me and my kids, just watch out. I remember my kids, my son used to tell me, mom, please don't. Like if I would get mad, if somebody would be mean to my son or something, mom, please don't. Because they know that I'm just I'm going to go for the jugular, but that's me. I'm a passionate person. And, I became salesperson of the year, having chemotherapy, and it lasted 8 months long. I lost all my hair. And, I didn't like wearing hats or bandanas or anything. I wore wigs because I lost all my hair. And these beautiful eyebrows you see right now, yeah, I draw them on every day because I don't have any. They never grew back. So, I lost all my hair, and, other people didn't know that I was sick because I didn't want to present as a sick person. I don't like people feeling sorry for me or having pity on me. So I just carried on like I was like normal. And because of that, that added to my tenacity and my drive and my passion for going after the thing that I need to do. I need to take care of my kids, and my son was in high school and he wanted to go to Japan. He was in Japanese class. Every year they went to Japan from like freshman year all the way up. He was in Japanese all the way to the 12th grade. Every year he wanted to go to Japan. And so every year I told him, no, no, honey, we can't afford it. And then finally he was like, Mom, this is my senior year. This is the only time I get to go. So we did it. And he went to Japan. And guess what? I got my diagnosis a few days before he went to Japan. And I didn't tell him because I didn't want him to worry. So he went to Japan. And when he came back, I was in the hospital having surgery and stuff. And yeah, you just push through because my son wanted to go to Japan. I had to work really hard and earn extra money because I had to pay for that. I think it was like $2,500. And it was in 2003, 2004. Yeah, 2004. The year he graduated is the year I got cancer. So, you just do what you have to do, right? If you want to retire and you don't have enough money, what is it going to take for you to go ahead and, start that business that you've been thinking about, or maybe even, haven't thought about, but this is a great idea. This is a great thing to start your retirement business while you're still working at your job so that you can transition into retirement to your retirement business and keep earning some income so that you don't have to be, stuck at home only because you've got only Social Security and just like a little pittance of a retirement. Do you feel passionate about that? I do. This is why I'm making these videos for you guys, because this is how I feel about myself. I have nothing for retirement, like nothing. So that's why I'm making a video every day for 30 days. And if I can keep up this pace, I'm just going to keep going. But anyways, I digress again. So, so that's me having cancer and going through cancer. And then when I came out of cancer, I had to shut down my tote bag, my Hawaiian print and creations and Stevens creations. I had to shut that down during my chemo treatment because I just didn't have the energy, because that was my side job, right? I had to do that on the weekends and I just had no energy from all the treatments. So I had to shut that down. And then when I was, completely healed and, like feeling good again. And so my husband and I were talking about what kind of a business that we want to start now. And we tossed around a few ideas. And one of them that we came up with was to open up a scrapbook store, because I'm very crafty and handy. And, I was making scrapbooks at the time. So we looked into it, and there were 6 other stores on the island, which is kind of a lot, but not really, because everybody offered something different. And it took a while to open up this store because the location that we had contracted with was a new build, and they had some construction delays, like a lot of construction delays. And in the process, my boss found out that I was, building this store, and they made me choose. I had to choose. Do you want your store or do you want your job, basically? So I said, I have too much invested. We already spent like $50,000 on the store. So yeah, I'm going to go forward through with it. So I had to leave my job. And here again, it's like I got to do what I got to do to pay the bills, because now not only did I have household bills, but I also had like the store bills that I had to take care of. And, so there's that. So luckily, it was a really great product. Everyone loved our store. It was called Scrapbook Heaven. And if you know me and you remember me from Scrapbook Heaven days, hi. I miss that store. It was not just a scrapbooking store, but it was like a community. And the women would gather and we would do crops. They call it crops. So everybody brings all their supplies and they work on their pages or cards or, paper crafts or whatever. We talk story and we go get coffee, and I would have snacks for them. And it was so much fun. We'd close the store at 6 and we'd leave at like midnight. It was super duper fun. But the economy had different plans for Miss Annie and Scrapbook Heaven. And what had happened was 2008. So in 2000, we opened the store in 2006 in a temporary spot until that our permanent spot was open because we had delays. And then in 2005, 2006, and then we finally really opened the store in 2007. So it was going great for about 18 months. We're crushing it. We're doing like $30,000 in sales a month for a brand new store. I think that was fantastic. And then in 2008, when the housing market started crashing and people's mortgages, I think at that time it was like the adjustable rate mortgages were adjusting and people's mortgages were going sky high, or they were buying too much house, right? That's what was happening, is people were getting like no documentation loans, and they were biting off more than they could chew. And when their adjustable rate mortgage adjusted, they couldn't afford their house anymore. So the market was just going bananas. And then on top of that, the gas prices started going up. And then the nail in the coffin for Scrapbook Heaven was Furlough Fridays. Furlough Fridays was the Hawaii school system shut down the schools on Fridays to save money. And what happened was people, their paychecks got cut by 20% because they were not working for that one day. So who gets chopped first? Your hobbies, okay? Not food or rent or mortgage or electricity. Your hobbies go by the wayside when you don't have money. So, it was a slow death. And we had to file for bankruptcy because there was so much involved with the store that we took out a huge loan. And I didn't have the store money to pay for it, for the loans. And I had to go back to the radio station. Luckily, they took me back. So I went back to the radio station, and, that plus the extra loans, plus the regular expenses, the first and second mortgage, it was too much. So I had to file for Chapter 7 and got rid of all the debt from the store. But we still had a home equity line of credit that we had taken out to build this store. So I heard it from people before I opened the store. I didn't listen. So if you are thinking about taking out a home equity loan or a home equity line of credit to open up a business, do not do it. Okay? You heard it from me. Don't do it. Because I filed for Chapter 7. And then we were still underwater. We could not pay. We had to pay the mortgage, right? The second mortgage. We couldn't get rid of that in the bankruptcy. So we were just drowning, just absolutely drowning. Everything in the house, like our carpet was 20 years old. It was falling apart. We hadn't painted the house. Everything kind of just like went. It was neglected because we didn't have the money to take care of anything. And so it came to the point where we had to either lose the house, just, let it foreclose, or file for Chapter 13, fix the house up, sell it, and get the heck out of Dodge. So we opted for option B. And by the time we got to that point, by the time we got to that point, my marriage was on fumes because of everything that happened. And it was just, I think, just too much to bear. So, and we fixed up the house. When I say we, it was me and my sister, because my wonderful ex-husband didn't want to help. And I packed up the entire house, 20 years worth of stuff. I had to sell it at the swap meet. I had to take to Goodwill. I had to try and sell some of it. I had to get rid of 20 years worth of junk by myself. And again, going back to the reason I'm telling you this story is not so you feel bad for me or whatever, but is because I had a very strong goal in mind. I needed to sell the house, move to the mainland, i.e. Vegas. We had to sell the house, move to Vegas because I was no longer able to live there anymore. It's just too expensive. If we had filed for chapter 13 and stayed and paid off the debt, our monthly payment for everything would be $7,000. And I didn't make that much. And I couldn't depend on what my husband made because he didn't make very much. So that was my goal. And I was determined that that was going to happen. So with that determination, I did everything myself. I got rid of all the stuff. I pared everything down, everything in the house. I got rid of that fit in a 5x7 container because that's what we could afford to get was a 5x7 shipping container to put all of our stuff in. So from a 2-story house full of 20 years worth of furniture, etc., 5x7 space. So I did it all myself. And my sister and I renovated the house. We redid all the floors. We went to Home Depot. We bought cabinets, the kitchen cabinets, and installed them. Oh, I do have to say that he did refinish the cabinet doors. So, and they looked brand new. We refinished the stove. It was in horrible condition, but we kind of refurbished it. And so we just kind of polished everything up and painted the inside, painted the outside. We built the deck in the backyard on the side of the yard because the yard was kind of jacked up. So we put a deck over it. And all of this because I set a goal for myself. We started this project in May of 2018. And I'm like, I got to be on a plane December of 2018 because our bankruptcy plan was going to readjust in March to where instead of paying $700 a month, I was going to have to pay $4,000 a month. So was I motivated to get the heck out of there? Yeah, I was. So that was my plan from May to December. December, I wanted to be on a plane. So in May, I set a whole schedule, a plan for how we were going to renovate the house and fix it up and then sell it. So the plan was you got to finish all these renovations by the end of August and then put the house on the market September. I want to close it by October and move out in November and then be gone in December. And that is exactly what happened. Exactly. Because I was determined to make it happen. And so we fixed everything up. According to my schedule, I'm like, come on, we gotta, I worked at my job and then I worked after work and I worked on the weekends all day, all night. And, it was a huge undertaking. It caused a lot of stress on the family. And, but thank God I had my sister because she was my saving grace and she helped me to do all my renovations. And, she was there to listen to me and, smoke a joint or two and have some fun. But so we did that, right? And we did it by the end. I signed the contract. We signed the contract to sell the house on August 30th. How's that? And then so the house was on the market in September, how I wanted it. The housing market is about 30 days. Back then it was like 30 days. And sure enough, we sold it. And it took 30 more days to close. We closed on November 23rd, right before Thanksgiving. And then from there we moved. We had to schedule out the shipping of our cars. We had to schedule out the shipping of our household goods, and then we had to buy our airfare. We had 3 dogs we had to take with us. It was not an easy task, but I planned all this and did it from May to December of 2018. Because when you're determined and you're passionate about something, you can get her done, right? So, and I wanted to be on the plane by December 6th because I wanted to be in Vegas and kind of relax a little bit because I love Christmas. I wanted to be there with my daughter and her family before Christmas. And that's exactly what we did. So Fast forward a few months. Okay, this is getting really long. I don't even see a clock or measurement. Sorry. Um, yeah, so fast forward a few months later, husband and I decided to split up. He moved out. So it's just me and my sister in our house. And now income again is all on Miss Annie. Okay, she's got to take care of herself now because her two kids are grown. They have their own families. They're all set. They've got great, they've got great partners and great plans. So I don't have to worry about them financially or whatever. So it's all me, right? So it's all me now. And so what am I going to do? Well, before I knew I was going to be leaving, and if I used to work with you at the radio station before I left, I knew I was leaving. So sorry. But I was planning to leave. So because I was planning to leave, I decided what I was going to do when I got to Vegas. I was going to do the same job I was doing, but only as an advertising agency because I already have all the skills, the knowledge, the abilities. I have the tools. I know about marketing. I know all the tools to use for marketing, etc. Won't bore you with all that right now. But that was my plan. I was going to start my agency, and I knew that my marriage was on fumes and that I would probably be doing this by myself. So, and the reason why I don't have any retirement is because it went bye-bye in 2008, and then with the bankruptcy, and then moving, and then, my life in the last 10 years has been very costly. So it's all me now. It's all me. And while I've been doing this, my business, Alpha Tango Marketing, I've been doing it for 5 years already, and I'm still loving it. And I still love all of my clients. And if you're my client and you're watching this video, yeah, I'm doing it on the weekends. Okay. And like after work. So don't worry about your stuff not getting done. So anyways, yeah, so I decided to open my agency when I moved to Vegas, and it's been going fantastic. And in another video, I'm going to do some like networking and how to market your business videos for you. So I will share with you how I did mine and how it became like very successful, because I have been not only able to take care of myself, it's just me and my sister in the house. We cover all. I gotta tie my hands down because she's gonna break. I take care of everything, and I have employees. I used to have, well, my daughter used to work for me now, before. She doesn't anymore, but I have people that work for me that I take care of myself. So my business is doing well. I want to grow it. And then eventually, I'm not ready to quit yet, but when I get to the point where I kind of want to pump the brakes, I want to be able to like transition the majority of my income to the passive income that I'm creating at the moment with all the other things that I'm doing. So that's really my story. Yeah, I've been in Vegas for 5 years, and we moved here. I tell people that we're financial refugees because we can't afford this. A lot of us here on the ninth island, we can't afford to live at home anymore, and you grow to love it. Okay, I was not loving it when I first moved here because it's hot and dry, and I can't tend to my garden and plant my plants. I can't do banana trees and plumeria trees outside because they will just perish in this heat, because it is a desert after all. And so I didn't love it for the first few years. I was like, just getting by, and like, yeah, I live here now. I kind of resigned myself, accepted the fact that I live here now. But now fast forward to 5 years later, I have a lot of friends now, and I've got a lot of like business associates. I have a social life. So it has become my home. When I go home to visit, I still call Hawaii my home. It will always be my home. But when I go home to visit and I'm coming back home to Vegas, I'm finally feeling like, okay, I'm coming home again. So I'm lucky. I have 2 homes, right? I have Vegas and I have Hawaii. So, with all of these things that I share with you today, it's about being passionate about what you do and having a goal and sticking to the plan. If that goal is big enough and keeps you up at night, that's a reason to start a business, because having your own business, while it might be stressful and sometimes crazy and sometimes worrisome, it is the best way that you can control your own life and your own destiny. So I hope you did get some things out of this. I just wanted, like I said, I wanted to share my story because I don't know, maybe hopefully it inspires you to do the same for yourself, right? We don't have to resign ourselves to the fact that, oh, I'm going to retire at 65. I'm going to go on Medicare and I'm going to be on a fixed income. Don't, yeah, that self-talk is toxic, right? So always think on the positive side. Think abundance, right? Think that I can have anything and everything that I want. You can have everything that you want. And guess what? I always have everything that I want because that is how I think. And that's how that is just, it's just the way I am. Always try to stay on the positive side. So I wish the best for you, and I hope that this brought you some inspiration. And I really appreciate you watching all the way to the end because this was a very long-winded video, more than what I normally do. But anyways, my name is Kamai, and I really appreciate you staying here to the end. This is AKamaiChats, and I hope you come to see us again soon. Thanks. Like and subscribe.